16 in the NFL.
There's Chicago Bears quarterback Mitchell Trubisky. Last 3 games, he's played very well. Can he keep it up today at Jacksonville?
And there's the Steelers' T.J. Watt. He leads the NFL with 13 sacks and 22 tackles for a loss, making a case for Defensive Player of the Year.
And there's Phillip Rivers, 17 TDs, just 3 interceptions in the first half of his games this season. He will need to start fast and efficiently versus the Steelers.
And there is Baker Mayfield. Browns have won 5 out of their last 6. He's going to be without his top 4 wide receivers today, accounting for 124 catches and 9 TDs versus the Jets.
And hello, folks, and welcome to the NFL Today, presented by Jeep. I am the heavier version of Nate Burleson. I'm James Brown, and a sense of urgency this week for several teams around the league as they fight for playoff positioning, and with the season winding down, very little margin for error. 2 teams headed in the opposite direction face off in Pittsburgh as Phillip Rivers and the Colts look to win their 4th straight as they take on Big Ben and the struggling Steelers. Speaking of Pittsburgh, the AFC North leaders have Baker Mayfield and the Browns nipping at their heels, and today Cleveland, with most of their receiver talent out, will try to continue their winning ways against the Jets in East Rutherford. And after a lot of ups and downs this season for the Washington football team, they find themselves atop the NFC East, and later this afternoon, Ron Rivera and company host the Panthers with the possibility of locking up a division crown. And in the NFC, Washington, of course, sits at 4. The NFC West leading Seahawks are at 3, with an opportunity to clinch their division as well. The Packers are top dogs, with the Saints parked right behind them. The Rams and the Buccaneers, whose win yesterday, by the way, clinched a playoff berth, hold the first 2 wild card spots, while the Cardinals, who suffered a loss to the Niners last night, have the last spot for now. But if the Bears win out, they'll snatch the final bid in the conference. The rest of the NFC East remain in contention as well. And in the AFC, starting at the bottom, Baltimore remains right on the tails of the Dolphins, whose win last night keeps them safe in the last wild card spot again for now. They are followed by Indy and Cleveland, who could both clinch playoff berths today. Up top, the Chiefs could wrap up the first-round bye with a win this afternoon. They're followed by division leaders Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and Tennessee. And all eyes are on the Steelers, who have faltered over the last 3 weeks. A loss could have them playing for the division title next week.
T.J. Watt, a splash play.
Claypool has been the man.
It is Minka Fitzpatrick. Touchdown. The magic of Big Ben.
The Pittsburgh Steelers remain unbeaten.
Steelers remain perfect.
And that's it. The Steelers are 11-0.
We the best. We the best. Tipped up in the air and intercepted.
The Steelers' unbeaten run has come to an end.
He's inside the 5, headed to the end zone. He is in. Touchdown, Buffalo.
Dennis back throws the pass. It's intercepted. And that's a pick 6.
Take a deep breath. The season is not over.
Over the middle, and Juju had it and lost it. He lost the football.
The Bengals stun the Pittsburgh Steelers.
We're not a good football group right now, and that's just the reality of it.
And I think I speak for Phil Simms as well. We are elated to be back in the studio, are we not, Phil?
Yes, we are.
All right, good to have you
Big
back
Nate.
as well, too. Big Nate.
Yeah, you're Big Nate.
And the Hall of Fame maestro coach, that would be Bill Cowher, multi-talented Nate Burleson, and, of course, Mr. Multimedia himself, Boomer Esiason. You know what, a big game today with implications for playoff positioning. And for more on that, let's welcome in Mr. Tony Romo. He'll be calling the action in Pittsburgh. Hey, Tony, after starting with an unblemished mark, 3 straight losses by the Steelers, from your perspective, the number one thing they need to do to get back?
Well, when you watch the tape, the number one thing that stands out is the Pittsburgh Steelers are not playing downhill. I mean, when I say that, I mean on offense and defense. We're used to seeing a physical football team impose their will, especially as the season gets later. And right now I see a team that's a little bit softer than they were earlier in the year. But I do see signs of life of that changing. Everyone goes through blimps like that during the season. They got Vince Williams, number 98, back. He's their hammer. You'll see a lot of that today, and I think you're going to see them be very aggressive up front.
So true about hitting that speed bump during the season. Hey, Tony, 2 quarterbacks from that 04 draft class going head-to-head today. What has impressed you the most about the play of one Phillip Rivers?
Well, I think first is just when you go to a new place, sometimes it's like, okay, you got to learn all these people. I mean, he looks like he's been playing with these guys for a long time. He lets the ball go very early, and they create a lot of big plays, really, because his instincts are so good. He gets the ball to the player, and the wide receiver's so fast, they have a chance to run, make people miss, and finish the plays in the end zone. And I'll tell you, Phillip Rivers is getting him into the right place so many times right now. One of the key things is when you defend him is your ability to communicate on defense and try and change your plays as he's changing his. Otherwise, they'll be in the right play too consistently.
All right. Hey, Tony, enjoy the game with Jim Nance. We look forward to it. And who better to ask about what it takes to bounce back for Pittsburgh than you?
Well, when I look at this offense, it starts right there. You're talking about an offense that really has had turnovers 5 in the last 3 games. They've got drop passes, batted balls, but it goes back to the running game. Look at them the first 6 games of this season. It's about the attempts. There's 30 attempts, 130 yards, 8 touchdowns. The last 8 games, they quit trying to run the football, only 19 attempts. Therefore, the production is down. I sit there and say, this short passing game, people have caught up with it. That's why they're batting these balls down. Get back to running the football. It's not about what you're doing. Just go back from the early in the season. It's about the attempts, not the yards.
Yeah, you know, Bill, when you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, everybody here, what's the strength of their football team? It's really their defense. Second scoring defense in the NFL, hard to score against. Look at these total yards. Well, that's the Steelers' offense. They're really struggling with what they do on the offensive side. Throwing the ball too much, 44 attempts the last 7 games. And when you look at it, when you're playing to the defense, you got to find a way to run the ball. Nobody's had more 3-and-outs in the NFL. Only one team, that's the New York Jets, than the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, and a big reason for those 3-and-outs are the drop balls. You mentioned that. I mean, even though you have a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster who leads the team in receptions, and you'll see him dancing right here, they lead the NFL in drops collectively. And here he is dancing on the Bengals logo pregame. He went from dancing for his fans on TikTok to getting his clock cleaned. Now, here's the thing. I'm a big fan of Juju Smith-Schuster, but sometimes you have to realize it's not about your social media following. The most important following in football is will your teammates follow you when it's your turn to lead. And he has said, I'm going to stop doing that, and let's see if that will refocus this group of wide receivers and tight ends with Eric Ebron dropping some balls too, and see if they can make plays for the quarterback.
Juju made it personal for both the Bills and the Bengals because the players from both of those teams talked about how annoyed they were with him and his pregame antics. The thing that's going in the right direction, I think, for the Steelers today is the fact that the Colts are missing their starting offensive tackles. And DJ Watt is known as a game wrecker. And today, he's going to be seeing basically a novice offensive tackle over there, Will Holden. And Will Holden and Chaz Green are going to be the tackles for Phillip Rivers today. That is the weakness of the Colts going into this game and an opportunity for the Steelers to take advantage of.
All right, fellas, good insight on it all, by the way. And for the latest news and updates from around the league, we welcome in our guy, the NFL Today insider, in his $1 million studio. That will be Jason Lockenfor. Hey, the latest on the Browns' COVID-19 situation.
JB, the Browns will be short at linebacker today, and without any receivers who've caught a ball for them all year due to COVID close contacts. Their flight to New York was delayed Saturday evening to allow for contact tracing, but I'm told there was no real consideration given to postponing this game. It's virtually certain that Dwayne Haskins will not be back in Washington next year, but with Alex Smith still hobbled, Haskins is in line to start today. Haskins requested a trade earlier this season, I'm told, and already had no real future in this organization prior to last week when he was sanctioned by the team for violating COVID protocols. All hands on deck for now, however. The NFL continues its investigation into allegations of sexual misconduct by Washington team officials. Last week, the Washington Post reported that owner Daniel Snyder settled a claim for $1.6 million with a former employee in 2009. And Ben Roethlisberger's recent playing tape, well, it's been kind of tough to watch, but there's a lot of people in that organization who believe he will bounce back today. No decisions about his future will be made until after the season, I'm told, and Coach Mike Tomlin will play a pivotal role in any determinations that are made. JB, worth noting, Ben and Tomlin are very close. Ben has 1 year, $19 million left on that deal.
Hey, Jason, as usual, thank you for the inside stuff. Well, earlier this week, we all learned of the passing of the Hall of Fame linebacker, Kevin Green, someone our coach knew very well.
Yeah, JB, I had the privilege of coaching him for 3 years, and Kevin came up in a military family. His dad was a colonel in the Army, and you know what? He played football like he lived his life. He played it with great passion. He played it with a sense of purpose. He was always so respectful, but his energy, his zest for football and for life was contagious. He was someone, if you got to know Kevin Green, you got to respect him. You knew to appreciate him, and you grew to love him. He was a special person, missed by everyone, but will always be remembered.
His play on the field certainly spoke for him well, but he was also a Hall of Fame person.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Jeep.
Bears quarterback Mitchell Trubisky has really come on in the last few weeks, folks. In his last 3 games, he's completing nearly 74% of his passes and has Chicago in the mix for playoff berth. Time now for pregame HQ delivered by Domino's. And for more on Trubisky's success, let's throw it over to Coach and Phil.
And you talk about the Chicago Bears, they now are in control of their own playoff destiny right now because if they win the last 2, they are in. And Mitch Trubisky in these last 3 games has been on fire. 73 completion percentage, only 1 interception. You know, Phil, when you watch him right now, it looks like they're building a system around his skill set.
Yeah, and his skill set, he's big, he's mobile, gets outside the pocket, throws well on the run. And I love what they're doing on offense. A lot of motion. Darnell Mooney coming across. Is it a speed sweep? No, it's not. Is it a run by David Montgomery? No. It's a boot pass by Mitchell Trubisky, defensive end in his face. Watch this throw around him to Jimmy Graham. Perfect, hits him in stride. Now they're worried about the boot and all the things that come to the backside. So what happens here? Watch as he makes this handoff to David Montgomery. Watch the backside linebacker and defensive end. They're worried about Mitchell Trubisky on the boot pass. So really good mixture. David Montgomery has a big lane to run in. And then you finish this off with this. Max protection, everybody stays in. Mitchell Trubisky gets deep, 2-man route, hits Allen Robinson across the field, and I just love what they're doing, Bill. Mixing it up. Deception on an offense comes from the quarterback under center. My question to you is, what took so long to get this offense going?
All triggered by the running game, which they've gotten back to, which sets up all of that play action. And how about that, Boom? How about those New York Jets fans? How do they feel about that big win last week?
Coach, you can't make it up. The Jets win last week created yet another interesting divide between the team and the fan base. While the players were celebrating staving off infamy, New York sports radio was full of angry Jets fans upset at the possibility of losing out on a potential franchise-altering #1 overall draft pick.
When do the Jets do anything competent, smart, intelligent? When do they do that?
I'm a diehard Jets fan. Please, guys, don't make fun of me. I cried in my car last night.
This is a real-life nightmare that happened as far as I'm concerned.
The ball's intercepted. Oh, it's picked off with one hand by Bryce Hall.
You're a Jets fan.
My friends
you gotta want to win, right?
I'm a true Jets fan, and I'm praying they lose. It's not good.
Tripped up by the punter. Oh, he could have housed it for the lead.
This is the worst possible scenario for a Jet fan that you could ever imagine.
Frank Gore's got it, and that should secure the Jet victory.
Like a whole lot of fans of the Jets right now, man, this is a tough place to be.
The ship has sunk, and we are sitting here watching it today. The end.
Well, Boomer knows this better than me. Some big questions coming in the offseason for the Jets, mostly surrounding the young signal caller, Sam Darnold. And for more on that, let's bring back our guy, Jason Lockenfor. Hey, Jason.
JB, the odds of Darnold remaining in New York rose exponentially after that loss. Talked to several executives around the league who know Jets GM Joe Douglas very well. They all believe he's going to auction off that 2nd overall pick. The drop between Lawrence and everybody else in this draft, pretty significant. You could start building around Darnold through multiple drafts by trading down. I wish Boom had something to talk about on the radio.
Well, you know, it's the one thing I will say. We still have 2 games left to play. So the Jaguars could actually beat the Bears, and maybe the Bears, have a flat game. Who knows? But I will say this. Sam Darnold's 23 years old. He's had 2 coaches, 2 general managers. It's been a revolving doors of players around him. He's got a bright future, I believe, in the NFL. This could be the track of a Mitch Trubisky. This could be a track of a Baker Mayfield. This could be a track of a Josh Allen if they get the right coach in here.
And we have seen glimpses of athleticism. What comes to mind is that 46-yard touchdown run in Week 4 against the Broncos. He needs to be in a system that can help utilize that skill set. And listen, with some veteran quarterbacks that might be moving on, there's some potential landing spots. 49ers, the Lions, those spots could be open to a guy like Sam Darnold.
And again, it's all about the system. We sat there and saw with Baker Mayfield now getting this right system. We saw Ryan Tannehill go down from Miami and come up to Tennessee. It's about fitting a system to a quarterback, not throwing a quarterback into a system. And I see Mitch Trubisky. There's a question they're going to say come up now. He's in the last year of his contract. He's in his 4th year. What are you going to do? And I would just say this to the Chicago Bears. Yes, the next 2 weeks will probably determine his future, Phil. But I'll tell you what are your options? He's young. He's athletic. He can throw well on the move. And when you run the football, you play to his skill set.
Yeah, you really do. You build it. It's like, Patrick Mahomes. I think they came in, Matt Nagy came from Kansas City and wanted to run the Patrick Mahomes offense. Well, he doesn't have Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
And we've seen Mitchell Trubisky, fit it to the system. I like what they're doing in this. I don't know if Chicago fans are going to love this, but I think Mitchell Trubisky will be their quarterback next year because that'll be his best option. The head coach, Matt Nagy, will be there. Ryan Pace, the general manager. So they got a building block here. They could go 8-8, 9-7, make the playoffs. Why change and start all over?
Why start over?
Just remember the last 3 games, Detroit, Houston, and Minnesota, 3 teams that have packed it in.
They won.
All right, how about Myles Garrett? He had COVID-19, came off the COVID list. Triple-digit sacks or double-digit sacks for the last 3 years running. He plays the Jets.
Why'd you throw cold water on when I was saying that?
Coming up on the NFL Today, it's been a crazy season in the NFC East, but today, with a win and a little help from their friends,
Daniel Jones, he stumbles and he falls down.
the Washington football team can wrap up the division title.
We're going to have some fun in the NFC East.
In the AFC South, the Colts and Titans have been locked in a season-long back-and-forth battle.
Touchdown, Colts. Touchdown, Titans.
But who will end up on top in what has become a fight to the finish?
Oh, yeah!
Baker Mayfield and the Browns have their sights set on the team's first playoff appearance since 2002, and he sat down with Phil to discuss how things have finally turned around in Cleveland.
Oh, baby, if they've been waiting for that.
All that and more when the NFL Today returns on CBS, home of Super Bowl 55.
It's over. The dream is reality.
Hank Stram is being lifted.
John Madden goes on the shoulders. Mike Ditka being hoisted on the shoulders of his team.
Look at this celebration. What a moment.
That getting carried off is really a symbolic thing. It's nice to take that ride.
Bill Parcells is being hoisted on the shoulders of his team.
That's a nice way for the players to recognize their coach. It's a euphoric feeling. I can remember it vividly, and, I'm just proud to have been able to get a couple rides.
And which head coach will be the next to take the ride? Find out on February 7th, Super Bowl 55, right here on CBS. And 2 coaches who could have an opportunity at the Super Bowl this year, both guys could use a win today to improve their playoff positioning, with Mike Tomlin and Frank Reich hoping for a division title and a home playoff game. And taking a look at the AFC, the Chiefs lead the conference, followed by the Bills, Steelers, and Titans. Indy and Cleveland own the first 2 wildcard spots, and a huge 4th quarter from Ryan Fitzpatrick saved the day for Miami last night. They hold on to the final playoff spot, with the Ravens still looking for a chance to get in.
An improbable win for the Dolphins for sure. And Brian Flores pulled the right trigger when he put Ryan Fitzpatrick in the 4th quarter right there to Gesicki. How about this play by Gaskin? He goes down sideline. This is a huge play for a touchdown. And then, of course, even Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes said this is the best no-look pass in NFL history.
How about that?
And he's right. Tack on 15 because of roughing the passer. And there you have the game winner. At the end of this game, you just think how sick the Baltimore Ravens must have been, because
There's that
if
tweet.
you ask me, the Raiders did everything right.
Yeah.
Except for defense execution at the end of the game.
No doubt about it. As we could see that tweet from Patrick Mahomes, I do agree. Getting face masked, throwing that dime in the cover 2 hole spot. Listen, for me, when it comes to Fitzpatrick, he's always been entertaining because he knew he was a bridge quarterback and he had a little bit of recklessness to him. And it was sometimes detrimental to his offense. I think for the first time in his career, being that he's never played in the playoffs, he's not being as reckless because he understands Miami could be the Cinderella story to make it to a Super Bowl.
And how about Brian Flores and those decisions he made last night in pulling two? And I've talked to Chan Gailey, and I've worked with Chan and talked to him this morning, and I said, how does that go? And it's a back and forth conversation you're having, but the final call is Brian Flores, and I give him a lot of credit. There you have a great relationship, that being Tua and Ryan Fitzpatrick. And Ryan Fitzpatrick right now, he's the closer. If there's any sense that he's uncomfortable, and you have that look in the eye, and you've been quarterbacks before, they come off the sideline, on the sideline right there. Chan's up in the booth. I hear Brian, hey, Chan, I don't like to look in his eye right now.
That's it.
So that's how it goes, and that's where the decisions come.
Yeah, as a fan watching the games, you know what's coming, really, in a way. Think back a couple of weeks ago, they're in Denver. It's not working for Tua. Can't make any plays. So Brian Flores puts Fitzpatrick and takes him all the way down the field, does throw an interception, but the same thing happened against the Raiders. He was kind of overwhelmed, couldn't find a way to get the football down the field, so you make the switch. Brian Flores, right now, with the football team on both sides of the ball, he is managing everything perfectly.
Could that quarterback dynamic work with these two guys? Don't answer it.
That's the answer. No way.
Big story coming out of last night. The Niners upset over division rival Arizona has given Chicago new life. The Bears now control their own destiny. Hey, folks, they went out, they get in. Now, the order is mostly unchanged. Green Bay, the Saints, Seattle, and Washington remain the top four. The Rams could hold a wild card spot. Tampa locked into the postseason now with its win yesterday. A near-perfect game from Tom Brady.
Yeah, we just talked about the Detroit Lions. What a mess they are in right now. But Tom Brady yesterday, 43 years old, 22 of 27, 348 yards, and 4 TDs. That's all in the first half. How about this? How about the last 4 quarters he has played? 668 yards, 6 TD passes, completing 77% of his passes, and basically 8 touchdowns and 0 interceptions last 3 games. I think he and Bruce Arians have figured it out.
Yeah, it's to that point. I know it seems like my Lions were channeling their inner Oprah. You get a touchdown, you get a touchdown, everybody gets a touchdown. But Tom Brady was fitting some really good balls in some tight windows. Seems like they're finding the chemistry at the right time, which could be key to them making a run.
Alvin Kamara, an NFL record, 6 touchdowns.
You're talking about peaking at the right time. They just get the Drew Brees back last week, and all of a sudden Alvin Kamara in this game goes off. They get back to running the football. It plays to the strength of their offensive line, and also that defense. I'll tell you, Kamara is a playmaker. You talk about the top backs in the league, Phil. And remember, they could get Michael Thomas back for the playoffs.
Well, that's going to help them a lot. Alvin Kamara gets in there. Listen, New Orleans is a run team first. Everybody thinks about Drew Brees. Now, Drew Brees playing the other day, his second game back was much sharper than he was against Kansas City. And they showed you that Alvin Kamara, there it is, 6 touchdowns rushing, tied for most in the game all time with Ernie Nevers at 19.
Ernie Nevers.
Wow. But they've shown they can win games, New Orleans, on defense, offense, passing, or running. That makes them a Super Bowl threat.
And now, are you made for football? Watching?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
With kickoff just about a half hour away, time to get you set at the game that you're going to be watching as we take you out first on the field, presented by Pepsi, for the latest news and updates on your matchup. Hey, Bob Matina, coming up later today, Washington hopes to stay atop the NFC East when they host a tough Carolina Panthers team, or Drew Lock and the Broncos look to slow down rookie sensation Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers, both coming your way 4 Eastern right here on CBS. You know what? We are going to get into the mess in Washington in just a few moments, but what about the season that Justin Herbert is having? Wow, Phil.
Well, listen, it couldn't go any better. I think it's a surprise. We all saw him coming out in the draft from Oregon, how he played there. We thought he's going to be a really good NFL quarterback, but he has surpassed that. If it's man-to-man coverage, tight windows, he can throw it in there. He throws it in between defenders and zones, and he can throw on the run. He's 6'6". We talked about it. He can really literally throw over the top of guys that are 6'5" and 6'6" with that high release. And I think he's the most accurate thrower of the ball, maybe in the NFL.
There's no question, Phil. You're right. Every time you see him every week, his decision-making, he can see the field. And on the other side, Drew Lock, you see the athleticism. You see him making the throws down the field. The only question at times I have with him is decision-making, right? Processing information, and sometimes trying to get too much out of a play.
No doubt about it. Justin Herbert, I know we say this about all the athletes. He shouldn't be that big and be able to run that fast, but the true mark of of a young guy kind of making his mark on the team is the veteran wide receivers who speak up for him. When you listen to Keenan Allen, he speaks highly of this young fella.
By the way, Trevor Lawrence is a lot like Justin Herbert in terms of size and athleticism. The thing would have been Joe Burrow probably would have won Offensive Rookie of the Year because he started it at game 1. This kid came in a little bit later, but I think he's going to be the Offensive Player of the Year this year, Rookie of the Year.
Well, you know
you got some extra time. You don't know what to do with it.
Hey, don't worry about JB. I got this thing. I got it. There's Baker Mayfield, our very own Phil Simms sat down with him. Baker and the Browns, they have their eye on the playoffs, trying to clinch a berth like a pregnant woman having contractions.
Oh, my gosh.
If I could just have a clue. Hey, Coach, the question is, how good has Baker Mayfield been? Tried 10 touches, just 1 pick over the last 4 games. Folks, he has been nothing short of elite lately, and his play has the Browns on the cusp of making the playoffs for the first time in a long time.
Baker Mayfield has the Browns on the cusp of clinching a playoff berth, a big feat for both Cleveland and its fans. The last time the team won a playoff game was all the way back in 1994. The last year the Browns appeared in a conference championship game, 1989, which was the last time they won a division title. But now Mayfield has the team on the verge of something special, and this week I caught up with him to find out how he and his teammates were able to finally turn things around.
Oh, baby, they've been waiting for that in Cleveland.
10 wins for the first time since 2007.
Baker and Kevin Stefanski, they were so in the zone.
Seems like the chemistry between you and him, I know it's head coach and quarterback, but it's really good. Am I right or wrong in that assessment?
No, you're exactly right. You know, it's not easy to establish that relationship, especially without any OTAs or training camp, preseason. You know, we had the bye week at the correct time, literally right smack dab in the middle of the season, and we're able to sit down and have conversations that we had missed out on early on, and were able to, you know, realize what we were good at, what we, you know, weren't exactly having success with, and what I liked and what he, you know, thought we should continue working on. So we were able to have that halfway mark to, you know, essentially push us to this stretch that we've had.
All right, 6. Let's have some fun. You trust those eyeballs, okay? And be you.
One game is the run game that really does it, and then it's the play action. That has to give you great confidence knowing there's many ways you guys can win.
Absolutely. Whatever we need to do to win, we're capable of doing that. So I think that's great for us that we've had to win games every single different way. There's just been a lot of learning experiences along this way that are only going to help us out.
Mayfield lofts it, touchdown, and Mayfield is dropping dimes.
What do you love about just being a quarterback?
I love the responsibility. I love the leadership aspect of it. To you know, have all eyes on you at every time.
One play at a time. Look at this drive, man.
You get credit, but you also get the blame, and I'd take the blame over my teammates every time.
Yeah, there's nothing like being like the man in charge. I mean, that's what it's, you know.
It's not a power problem or issue, but it might sound like that.
Baker Mayfield will be sitting down momentarily. Baker, thank you for joining us.
As long as we don't go chasing waterfalls, we're going to be in the game. Stop, drop, shut them down, open up shop. Like, oh no, that's just every fighter's role. They had to get funky on the field and just like an old batch of collard greens.
So this pop culture thing, as I watch some of your interviews, I'm going, what is he talking about? So where did this start?
It's a way to have fun, you know. It started with T.C. McCartney, essentially one of our assistant QB coaches. He has choices for us, and we kind of pick and choose what we want to do. And I have to make a smooth transition into the answer, put it in there somehow. I can't just blurt it out. It has to somewhat make sense, which some of them don't, but that's their fault for picking those quotes. Whenever I'm about to do something, I think, would an idiot do that? And if they would, then I don't do that.
Any pop culture things you want to drop on me right now? Just something you got planned, you know?
You got to wait and see the show, Phil. Come on.
Okay. Cleveland hasn't been to the playoffs since 2002. Can you remember what you were doing back in 2002 at the age of 8?
I was enjoying probably playing football at recess and baseball.
You know, in 2002, I was hosting Miss Universe. So I don't know if you know this, but I'm kind of a big deal. That was a Ron Burgundy drop.
You're pop culture too now?
Well, yeah, no, I'm old culture. So what do you think it means to the team and the city that you guys are in this position right now?
I think it means more than I'll truly ever know. They're a great fan base that's been waiting for so long for a great team to get back to the roots. You know, you hear them all talk about the good old days. You can only just imagine what it was like back then, because we truly haven't had a taste of that real excited culture yet. They've been hungry for this for a long time.
Diana Sims furniture deal courtesy of?
Oh, yeah. It's Phil Sims Furniture and Film Study.
And Phil, you have to love the confidence of Baker and that Browns offense.
Well, JB, look what they've done since week 9, man. 5-1. The points they're scoring, the yards, third down percentage. That just shows you they're keeping themselves in good position. What I love about, first off, that read going to the Baker piece was really hard. But that's the one thing. But Baker Mayfield, what I love about the Cleveland Browns, they can run the ball and beat you. They got a play-action game that beat the Tennessee Titans. Then they play the New York Giants, who play zone, so it did a drop-back game. So they got it all right now rolling on offense.
You know, he's going to have a problem, though, today. No starting wide receivers. 4 of them, in fact, are going to be out of this game. You can see the list right here on your monitor. The other thing to remember, this team does play with a lot of tight ends. So 4 of his tight ends are going to play today. Hooper, Bryant, Njoku, and Carlson. Those guys will play a lot of different positions, and don't be surprised if you see Kareem Hunt line up as a wide receiver.
You're right about that. Took some rests with the Whiteouts this summer. And, Coach, you're going to love this game because it's old school football. Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, this is exactly what you like, right, Coach?
Oh, absolutely. I'll tell you what, I think Kevin Stefanski, we got off the bus this morning on the top segment, they interviewed him, and they said, you know what happened when you find out about the receivers? He goes, you know what? We sat down, we adapt, and we adjust, and we move on. And talking about the playoffs, you don't want to talk about the playoffs. He has really brought a sense of humility up there, a sense of focus. You don't talk about the past. You don't talk about ponder the future. You live in the moment. Kevin Stefanski lives that. His team plays like that. And I'll tell you what, that's why they are where they are right now. In Cleveland, I am so happy for you because I've been there for the drive. I've been there for the fumble. I was there for Red White 88. Great fans.
All right, guys, you saw that the wideouts are down for the Browns, the top 3 pass catchers. Let me introduce you to Marvin Hall Jr., went to the University of Washington, hasn't played since week 12 for the Lions. He's going to get a big look today.
The NFL Today is sponsored by DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. Verizon, the network more people rely on. And by Jeep, there's only one.
This season, Carolina Panthers legends partnered with Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina for several Panthers neighborhood kitchen events, providing over 300 meals in needs-based communities.
All righty, guys, there's Ben Roethlisberger, 3-game losing streak for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Interceptions in 5 straight games, under 200 yards passing against the Bills and the Bengals, respectively, in their last 2 games.
And there's Phillip Rivers. He throws 2 pass TDs. He will pass Dan Marino for 5th all-time. Also looking for his 12th 4,000-yard season, which would be tied for 2nd most all-time.
Phillip, if you're looking for that guy, it's Minkah Fitzpatrick. Since joining the Steelers last year, he's got 9 interceptions, 2 of which were returned for touchdowns.
And the leader of the Colts defensive line, that's DeForest Buckner. 3 sacks last week, 7.5 for the year. He's 5th in the NFL in quarterback hits with 25. What a good job by him.
And boom, DeForest Buckner leads a Colts defense that can give teams a whole lot of trouble.
It was a huge trade that they made in the offseason with the San Francisco 49ers. Frank told me it was one of the best trades that he's ever been around, and they love the kid. Now, they got lit up when he was not in the lineup against the Titans. Yeah. He is 6'7", and what is coming from the Colts is Darius Leonard with all of his energy. They call him the maniac on the field. But here's the thing. It's about batted balls when you play against Ben Roethlisberger because you can't get to him because he gets rid of the ball so quickly, and that's where the 6'7" DeForest Buckner's got to come in big tonight.
And how about the playmakers for the Indianapolis Colts? You have Jonathan Taylor, who's been a beast, averaging 6.6 yards a carry. That's more than Derrick Henry over the past few weeks. Zach Pascal, who is a great addition to this offense. When we think of pass catchers within this offense, we think of T.Y. Hilton. Now they have multiple guys that are making plays for this team.
Yeah, when you talk about Phillip Rivers, how about the fact the last 5 games that he's played in cold weather, he's 1-4. This is the coldest game he will play in all year in Pittsburgh, so look for that to be a factor.
Well, there's Ben Roethlisberger for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I said earlier, throwing the football 44 times a game the last 7. You got to watch him to see how that right leg is. Lost a little power throwing the football. And then Frank Wright, he's got a job for him today. Both starting tackles are out. So what does he do? He has 3 good tight ends. He can help him out if he needs to. Nate, you said it. Jonathan Taylor has turned a corner. He's now a pro running back. He's changed his style. Looks great. And the last thing is, Pittsburgh likes the blitz, right?
Oh, yeah.
Who's number 1 in the NFL against the blitz at quarterback? That would be Philip Rivers.
A lot of turmoil in Washington, but through it all, what a year it's been for Washington rookie Chase Young. His play has helped transform that Washington defensive front line into one of the most feared units in the league.
They got defensive dominant player on every level of that front 4.
They really get after you.
There's the rookie Chase Young again. Wow, what a play.
Chase Young is going to be the defensive rookie of the year.
Montez Sweat is having a breakout season.
Here comes Sweat.
He gets sacked.
Sacked by Sweat.
How many sacks is that?
Me, everybody.
It is a party in the backfield.
Dropped down by John Allen.
He's devoured.
Ryan Kerrigan. Derod Payne, ball is out. Touchdown. Chase Young.
Well, it's really interesting. You watch this Washington defense. I've been kind of watching it all year long because it's fascinating how good they are up front. Early in the year, Jack Del Rio, the defensive coordinator, was blitzing along with this front 4. Now they've kind of pulled back and they're not blitzing because why? He goes, man, they can get there. Then I can take my 7 guys behind them and spread it out. And they're really playing good man-to-man defense. Got 2 veteran corners in Ronald Darby and Kendall Fuller who are both playing well. And they can play zone, they can play man. Jack Del Rio's done a great job with the defense.
Well, I tell you else has done a great job. How about Ron Rivera going against his former team this week against the Carolina Panthers? But Ron Rivera, for a guy who's been battling cancer all year long, he has really been an inspiration, not just to his team, but to that community, JB. And you know, being down there, what he represents is the very best of the NFL, and they play hard for him.
No doubt about it. Let me take this opportunity to talk to Dwayne Haskins, not because I'm a former player sitting up here in a suit, because I know what it's like to be young and distracted. The NFL, it's a great opportunity. It's the most precious ball that you can carry. Protect it. 5 points of pressure. Hold on to that thing, because the more you fumble it, the less people are likely to hand you that ball again. So use this opportunity this year, last year, to learn and get better from this moment, because you are running out of chances.
Well, next year he'll be somewhere else, I can guarantee you that. It's too bad that Alex Smith can't play in this game. He is a true leader, and too bad that Dwayne Haskins hasn't learned from Alex Smith. The one thing I will say about the Washington football team is they remind me of the San Francisco 49ers a few years back. They had all those first-round draft picks on that defensive line, and that defensive line took them to the Super Bowl. So don't think that Washington won't be there relatively soon, as long as they have the right quarterback going forward.
And just co-telling on what you said, both Ron Rivera and Doug Williams have certainly been very willing in trying to help the young man. That needs to be stated emphatically, no question about it. All right, folks, the NFL Today picks are presented by Allstate. The question is, who will protect home field today? Upset special, starting with Phil.
I'm going to take the Carolina Panthers over the Washington football team that we just talked about.
Boy, what a downer you are. I talk about the Rams over the Seattle Seahawks.
Okay, Mr.
I have the Dallas Cowboys protecting their home over the Philadelphia Eagles.
Coach, you're not going to like this. I'm going to go with the Colts.
The whole
I don't know where that Steeler culture is. I just don't know where.
Where's the tackles at? Did you forget about them?
Oh, yeah, well.
Hey, what did you just call Coach? You call him Mr. What?
Oh, Mr. Happy. Of course, as sarcastic as you can be.
And we'll kick off just a few minutes away.
We'll get you out to your game next. But for those who will be watching our late games, more coming up after the break.
I don't like the look in their eyes.
The NFL Today on CBS Sports is presented by Jeep.
Later today, Teddy Bridgewater and the Panthers try to disrupt the NFC East by knocking off the Washington football team. And Justin Herbert looking to keep his sharp play going when the Chargers host the Broncos. Both games coming your way at 4 p.m. Eastern right here on CBS. Time now for Game Day Delivery presented by Amazon Feel It.
Well, let's talk about that game. You know, the Panthers and the Washington football team today. What's really neat about it, Ron Rivera and Matt Rule, if you watch them, I know their teams do not have these great winning records, but they manage their team and the games about as well as anybody in the NFL. So they do their job. Then I look at the game and the quarterbacks. Dwayne Haskins, the one thing I'd say to him, Understand the scope of what you're in there today with. Be very careful when you throw the football. Know that you have a good defense and you're going against a team that doesn't score a lot of points. So Dwayne Haskins can do that. He's heard it all week long. I expect him to be okay. And Teddy Bridgewater, though, his greatest skill when you talk about him is just manage the game. He's going to take no chances, gives his team the best chance he can to win.
And on the other side, Phil, I just think Matt Rule has done a really good job. I know the record doesn't indicate that you're 4-10, but think about it. You've not had Christian McCaffrey this entire year. They've lost some close games, but Teddy Bridgewater, DJ Moore, you're talking about Robbie Anderson. They got some pieces right there in place. They've been in close games, but he is engaged with that football team. I just love the way he coaches, the way he operates the sideline. The wins will come. They got to stay with him. I think he's a good, a bright future for Matt Rule and the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, a season ago, we praised the San Francisco 49ers for what they were building on defense, and they made quarterbacks uncomfortable in the pocket. I feel like the Washington football team, they're doing the exact same thing. They have guys that can collapse the pocket, and I plan on seeing them do that today because that's one of their strengths.
So if they win today, guys, you'll realize how big of a deal this is for the Washington defense, for Dwayne Haskins, for Ron Rivera. If they win, they knock out the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. If they win and the Giants lose to the Ravens, the Washington football team wins the NFC.
How about that?
So that's what's on the line today for Dwayne Haskins, and that's why I think everybody has come down so hard on this young man after the mistake he made after last week's loss to Seattle, going out to a strip club without a mask on. So the whole aspect of all of this for Dwayne Haskins, for Chase Young, for Ron Rivera, for Dan Snyder, and everybody else, this is a huge moment in time for them to be able to win the NFC East.
Chargers, Broncos.
Well, you know, I'm going to just talk real quick about, we've already talked about Justin Herbert, how we all think he is really, truly a big-time NFL quarterback. I don't know what they're going to do out in Los Angeles, but I know one thing. I'd keep Shane Steichen, the offensive coordinator, because I love what they do on offense. But Drew Lock for the Denver Broncos, you know, I like his talent. I think the last couple of weeks he's kind of settled down a little bit. And what are you going to do if you're in Denver? You're going to start over once again with a quarterback and a coach. Vic Fangio kind of has the team organized. Injuries have really hurt him. But Drew Lock, the talent, I would not get rid of him. I would keep him as my quarterback next year, and I think they will.
And I think Fangio, I think, again, you know, he's been out there. I mean, they've not had Von Miller all year. They just lost Bradley Chubb. And I think they'd like to get back to run the football. You talk about systems fitting a quarterback. You're right. If you think about what they want to go to, they know they want to run the football. It helps your defense and the play action game off of it. So you're right. Why start over when you have a young quarterback? I'm not so sold on him yet. I need to see more. But I tell you what, I do like the athleticism that he brings to the game. And he's got a strong arm, and he's just going to get better.
Yeah, Drew Lock, he has that moxie. He's talented, and he's been making plays, and the wide receivers have stepped up. Hamler has been big. Judy has done his thing, and then Patrick has stepped up big time. And keep this in mind. Noah Fant and tight end, but they're doing all this without Cortland Sutton, who is a true #1 wide receiver. So imagine getting him healthy off of tearing his ACL earlier in the season. They'll be perfectly fine next year.
I got to believe this is an over game because there's going to be a lot of business decisions being made on defense. Nobody's going to want to be making tackles late in the season. I think both of these quarterbacks should put up big numbers in this particular game, and there's going to be balls flying all over the place. This is exactly the type of game you want to sit down, you want to watch.
Is that how quarterbacks think at this point of
you want to take it all in and say, man, this is a numbers game, right?
Well, yeah, when you get those numbers games, you want to take advantage of it. It's like Tom Brady with Detroit.
Hold on. We had a question earlier today that I asked you.
Yes.
Would you see the kind of dynamic between these two quarterbacks as you do in Miami?
You know what, JB? I'd sit there and I'd look at each one. I think you had a great series. And Phil, boom, I love the way you managed it.
Wait.
I'd walk away. I'm going like, hey,
you know what we would do?
Up here. I'm not liking where they are. They're self-serving right now.
Hey, listen, Boomer, we would walk right up to the front office and go, we both want to be traded. There you go.
Can't take the coach.
Thank goodness that's not the case here. Hey, folks, we'll see you back at 4 p.m. Eastern right here. Where, Nate?
On CBS.